Alright, well, I'll be doing an oil change on this Cavalier, a General Motors Chevrolet Cavalier with the 2.4 liter twin cam engine, also known as the Quad 4, although the Quad 4 name actually dates back as far as when this engine used to be a 2.3 liter. But this is the 2.4 liter incarnation of the engine that came about in 1996, or at least for the 1996 model year. So what I'll do is I'll take this thing for a quick little drive to warm up the oil. The 2.2 liter overhead valve engine would have been the most common engine in the Cavaliers and Sunfires. But this Cavalier, as well as many other General Motors vehicles, including the Pontiac Grand Am, OLDSMOBILE ALERO, and the Pontiac SUNFIRE, often used this 2.4 liter engine. Alright, so to change the oil in this vehicle, you'll need 4 liters of 5W30 or better. Better than 5W30 would actually be 0W30. The engine will need 4 liters of this to replace the oil that will be draining out of the vehicle. It's always a good idea to have extra oil on hand. One thing about the Quad 4 engine, the 2.4 liter double overhead cam used by Cavaliers, if you're going to change the oil yourself, you probably want to change the filter too. And, well, the overhead valve engine is fractionally more efficient, which it's also my favorite of the engines, the overhead valve one. It's slightly more efficient too, but in addition to being more fuel efficient, well, I shouldn't say in addition to it, as a counter to being more fuel efficient though, it does have the nuisance of its oil filters on the back of the engine. Well, this one is on the front of the engine, so it's a lot easier for you to access if you're going to change the oil yourself. So you get the drain plug over here on the engine, and then you have the oil filter just right up there, which is probably a bit greasy and dirty, so a clean gloved hand might help take that off. That's all there is to it, is unscrewing that oil filter there and putting another one on in its place. Other than draining out the oil and pouring some more in. Just a pretty simple process. Well, the dipstick doesn't look too bad, but it sure looks pretty black when it's coming out like this. Next, for the oil filter. The Mobile 1 oil filter for the Cavalier engine that I have out there. The Oldsmobile designed Quad 4, which an earlier version of it, I believe 2.3 liter, first appeared in the Oldsmobile Aerotech prototype car, or the Aerotech 2, something like that. But anyway, this General Motors engine uses a M1 107 oil filter. If it was a 2.2 liter overhead valve engine, it would be an M1 101. But for the double overhead cam 2.4 liter, known as the Quad 4 engine, especially from the years of this one, 2001, the oil filter that it will use is a M1 107. And of course, different oil filter manufacturers would have different numbering systems. As you can see, when the old oil filter comes off, a little bit of oil is going to run out, so you want to have your drain pan in place. And there it is, where the previous filter came off. I think I'll rub a little clean 0W20 on the new filter before it goes on, just around the gasket, so that that'll all seal up really well. it's always a good idea to lubricate the gasket before the new oil filter goes on. Alright, although I'm putting 5W30 Castrol Edge titanium oil in the car, as the car uses 30 weights, or it's designed for 30 weights, and 5W30 being the best common 30 weight, although 0W30 will give you better fuel efficiency when the oil is cold and act the same as a 5W30 when the oil is hot. What I actually lubricated the gasket with was I just poured a little bit of 0W20 on it, because I also had a bottle of that, which was also a synthetic oil, and I rubbed it around the gasket, and it was clean oil, of course, so I didn't mind touching it, even though I don't really like getting oil on myself. But made sure the gasket stayed as clean as possible. In fact, when I poured it on, you can actually see a little bit of the oil, a little bit of the extra oil that ran off of the gasket towards the insides of the oil filter. And a little bit of oil like that in the filter isn't going to cause any problem whatsoever. There's the new Mobil 1 oil filter up there in place. Just turn it until it screws on good and tight, until it's on good and snug. Don't squeeze the hell out of it while trying to grasp it, just to turn it a little harder, because they recommend against that. You'd probably damage the gasket. But of course you don't want it to be loose either. They describe it as, it should be on snug, I think is usually how they describe it. Snug being a measurement, and I guess you'll just have to figure out for yourself, because that's how I handle it. It's like, well, whatever that means. I didn't make too much effort to squeeze or strain it on, just kept turning it till it didn't want to turn anymore without using excessive pressure, and there we go. That should be on there. Of course, I'm not going to be able to tell if it's leaking right away, because there's already oil dripping down from the old one, where the old one was removed, but oh well. A little oil running down the engine, that's, just think of it as a little rust protection. Accidental rust protection.